Hey everybody, Charlie 902 here, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. When we last left off, we spoke to Inspector Gregson at the crime scene, and he let us know that Sherlock Holmes, or rather, Herlock Sholmes, was involved in the case, as well as our suspect, Mr. Natsume, also told us the same thing. So with that information, we're going to go talk to the man himself. Let's head off to Sholmes' suite. Ooh, cutscene.
Thank you very much.
It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day.
Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Well, all right. Not as steampunky as I expected, but there's quite a few odd things around here. Can we inspect this like we can everywhere else? 19th of February, 12:53 p.m., Sholmes' suite. See here? So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. I mean, how do we get in if he's not here? There's the steampunky stuff. Is it as described in the stories, Miss Susato? She's losing her mind. Susato-san? Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. She is fangirling hard. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yeah. I've never read the stories, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I suppose I can, yes. So if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me. She is obsessed. Yeah, clearly. Do I see bullet holes in the wall over there? Well, looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. Well, how did we get in here then? Did someone let us in? Okay. Excuse me, is anybody home? Oh, do we have a visitor? That's that little girl. Hello. Is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes? Hello. Wait. Aren't you... Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once. Tea sounds amazing. I don't know if you get it, but I'm not really voice acting, but reading constantly throughout this entire game is rough on the old voice box. Some hot tea sounds amazing right now. I'm sure it's the same girl. Miss Susato, did you see the girl who was just here? No, she's over there fangirling out. Leave her alone. Oh yes, isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. The King of Bohemia? King Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund von Ormstein, of course. I almost got through it on the first time. Almost. Ormstein screwed me up because I was thinking Ornstein and Smo. But I almost got through it. Got to give me half a point for that. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Herlock Sholmes for a moment and look over there. Oh, she can't. We shouldn't have told her to forget it. She's going to be so pissed. She's going to flip us upside down. The tea's brewed. That was fast. And what is this music? This is some whimsy. Okay. And I have a freshly baked cake as well. Well, this just sounds delightful. Tea and a cake? Ah, it's you. I knew it. Susato-san recognizes her too. I mean, do you really need to flash back? Like, how can you forget that? Ah, there you are. And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. So do you make all of Sholmes' devices? And I love your backpack with your little dangly rabbits and what appears to be a mouse on there. It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber. See, they said antechamber here, but they screwed me up a few episodes ago when they said ante-room, which just doesn't roll off the tongue as easily. Antechamber, much easier to say. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London. Oh yes, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color? Oh, that's right, they put milk in it here, right? Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray, it's a winner. I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. And you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about this by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you? Hurley. Hurley. He went on to design a clothesline and skateboards as well. Hurley. Mr. Sholmes to you, surely. Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth did she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think? Deduction is not a superpower. It's more or less like, kind of like a scientific process applied to solving crime. And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me. I haven't introduced myself, have I? Iris. It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I like that name, Iris. I live here together with Hurley. Ah, Iris is it? What a lovely name. I was thinking the same thing. What? What's the matter? No, wait, this can't be. Susato, you're freaking me out. What's up? Did you say that your name is Wilson? Wilson. That's the analog to Watson. Why didn't I see that before now? Well, maybe because Watson wasn't a young pink-haired steampunk girl, but still, neither was Sholmes a weird young steampunk anime man either. So this is Wilson. What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? Yes, that's right. And what are your names? Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runo. Yeah, I like that. It's much easier to say. Susie and Runo. Got it. I really wish that when I click this button, it changes my name card up at the top there to say Runo, and it changes her to say Susie, but it won't, but it should. Nope, it doesn't. Susie? And Runo? There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her, I don't know where to start. Yes, and so do I. Okay, I want to examine the room. Screw talking to you. We'll talk to you later. I want to look at this room. This place is a mess. All right, let's start all the way on the right. Okay, this is clearly Iris's side. Just making sure. All right, there's a typewriter machine. Let's look at that. What on earth is that big black lump over there? Ah, that fascinating thing is called a typewriter. It's a machine that allows you to write on paper without needing a pen. And wizardly quickly, too. Oh, that sounds like it could be very useful for someone like me with terrible handwriting. Okay. We had a juror that had a typewriter last case. So that shouldn't be too much of a surprise. All right, let's look at this spice rack or medicine rack. It's a charming little white shelf and full of charming little bottles, too. Oh, yes, but don't touch any of those. They might explode. Explode? Are they exotic chemicals? Do you use them for exciting experiments? Yes, indeed. And as Hurley always says, chemistry is an explosive science. Sorry? I agree. A single discovery can trigger an explosion of innovation all around the world. Or perhaps he just meant it literally. Either way, mental note, do not touch any bottle that belongs to Iris. Let's look at her little tea set. What a beautiful English tea set. And so neatly arranged. It's a favorite pastime of mine. A cup of herbal tea in the afternoon. Tea. Made of herbs. That's right. I grow all sorts of herbs in the garden so I can experiment with different blends. One moment, don't go away. I'll brew a pot of the special blend I came up with earlier today. She looks delighted. I only hope it's safe to drink. I mean, are you actually going to bring us tea, or is that just a tease? What is this, an equation? Ah, that's my blackboard where I note down ideas. Where I note down ideas? Is note a verb? Can it be used as a verb? Yeah, I guess it can, because when somebody says something, you say noted. Okay, it's just a weird use of it. Where I note down ideas, okay. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Black Peter? What does that mean? I think I saw that on a Family Guy episode. Don't you want to hear what Iris has to say, Mr. Naruhodo? I'll come back to that blackboard later. There's a bust. Is that Napoleon? A mystery shoe, a curious hammer, some mysterious dancing men, and a bust of Napoleon. Okay, so we're looking at everything back there. Ah, what an enticing collection, or entrancing collection, rather. This is the first time in my life I've seen a lonely old shoe displayed as an ornament. Oh, those are all mementos that Hurley has collected from his past cases. Really, even the bust? Yes, that's right. When the mood takes him, he likes to throw it on the floor and smash it to dust. What now? The poor defenseless emperor. Mr. Sholmes destroys it? Yes, and then he buys a new one. You make it sound like he has the temperament of an insane sculptor. Ah, how entrancingly bohemian of him. Wow, so you're attracted to, like, domestic violence? Okay, I see. Let's go this way. So we already looked at all of that. This is the mantle. Let's look at this. There's another shoe. Is that a lamp? I do like this fireplace. It's one of the best things I've seen since we arrived in the country, in fact. Lingering beside the fire and watching the flames flicker and dance in the grate. Ah, it's so relaxing. We can't relax, not when there are so many interesting things on the mantelpiece. Oh, it's just as it was described in the stories, is it? Yes, exactly. Inside that Persian slipper, for example, are my chocolates for elevensies. Did we just go into the Lord of the Rings? And transfixed by that large jackknife is my shopping list for the market. But it's in the wall. Oh, it's not quite how I remember it being described in The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Poor Susato-san, she looks crushed. Okay, that's the fireplace. Let's look at this trunk. Looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. Seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous. How did you come to that conclusion? Oh, that chest contains some of my most valuable things. And that smile tells me you're not going to give us any clue about what they are. Okay, couch. Phonograph? No. Globe? Yeah, globe. There's all sorts on these shelves. Chemistry apparatus, books, papers, and lots of things I've never seen before. It's all heaped up so high I can't help feeling that the whole lot is going to topple at any moment. I keep telling Hurley not to cram so much on those shelves. Good advice. He wanted to look something up in one of those books a while ago. But it was so tightly wedged in he couldn't get it out. So he went and bought a new copy instead. Okay. Dude's not very frugal, is he? Also doesn't sound very pragmatic. Alright, so that looks like bullet holes? Maybe not. Maybe that's like rope or something. I can't quite tell. It looks like VR. Why are the... Yeah, there are bullet holes. Why are there all those bullet holes in the wall up there? Was Mr. Sholmes trying to shoot a pestery fly or something? Mr. Sholmes would never do something so reckless. Susato, you just heard this girl say that he owns a bust of Napoleon just so he can smash it on the floor every once in a while and buy a new one. She also told you that his bookshelf was so tightly packed that rather than try to organize it to get at one of the books he had, he bought another copy of the same book. And you're going to be surprised by the fact that we would suggest that he shot in his own house? Please. No. Those are the letters VR, standing for Victoria Regina. It's Latin for Queen Victoria. So you mean he shot the Queen into the wall? In a moment of boredom, Mr. Sholmes adorned the wall with a patriotic sign, that's all. As pistol practice. Really? Right, that makes perfect sense now. It's exactly as it's described in the stories. Oh, this is delightful. I'm not sure that the real explanation is any less reckless than shooting at a fly, personally. It's patriotic, Mr. Naruhodo. Patriotic. Patriotic doesn't also always make it right, too. Let's look at this, I would call it a fiddle. The rest of the world would call it a violin, probably. The reason I call it a fiddle is my grandpa used to play bluegrass music. You don't call it a violin if you're a bluegrass artist. You call it a fiddle. Let's look at it. I've seen pictures of Western musical instruments like this. It's called a violin, isn't it? Of course it is. Mr. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing. Oh, really? Absolutely. It's often explained in the stories. It's inspirational, Mr. Naruhodo. Inspirational. I immediately started playing the koto, which was the closest Japanese stringed instrument I could find. Is that the one-stringed instrument that sounds vaguely similar to a violin that you hear in, well, not to be like stereotypical or anything, but you hear it in like Chinese restaurants, Japanese restaurants, places like that. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. What a shame you couldn't bring it with you to London. Oh, yes, well, Papa was beaming when I asked him if he would buy me one. But after a while, he asked if I would only practice when he was out of the house. So now it's merely an ornament in my room. That must have been an awkward conversation. Okay. It's got a nice expensive looking chair there. What is this with the handle? There's a lamp. I've already looked at that. We're not going to talk about the skull. We're just going to leave the skull there and not talk about it. All right, what about this thing? What on earth is this huge over-the-top machine? That's the Great Analytoscope. It can analyze anything, really, anything at all. So this is just hand-wavium. Got it. That's absolutely incredible. It's one of Hurley's inventions. It took him a whole year. He said it was to help him with his investigations. What sort of things has he analyzed with it? Do you know? Well, actually, he hasn't used it for anything yet. Oh, why not? Apparently, on the evening he finally completed it, it suddenly occurred to him, I don't actually have anything I need to analyze. Okay. How about you, Runo? Do you have anything you'd like to analyze? The only thing that springs to mind is this machine itself. I mean, does it matter? Because how would that ever hold up in court? This machine that I invented and only I own and nobody else has vetted says that this substance is X, Y, or Z. Like, who cares? Okay. I think we're almost done looking through. Not going to talk about this flask. That's a flask, right? Beakers are round, flasks look like they have a dress on. Is that right? I was horrible in chemistry. I'm sorry. All right, let's talk to Iris. So, Iris, how you doing? It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it, at the Old Bailey? Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though at the time, we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Like this? Don't point the gun at people unless you plan on using it. Gulp. Ah, thinking back now. You left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness Gina Lestrade. Oh, Ginny? Yeah, she's a professional pickpocket. So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referring to the trial disrupting gun-like contraption? Exactly, so I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions. So it can be like Mission Impossible, huh? This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician. Sorry, your technician? Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock Sholmes. We live here together. I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Not likely. What? I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate. Your roommates? I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year. Well, what of your mother and father? Oh no, they're not around. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Wilson! Wilson! Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course, go ahead, Susie. I am a very great fan of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes and... Oh, you have a copy of Rant's magazine? Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world. My stories? This is where the rug gets pulled out from Susie. That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author? Yes. I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call this latest adventure The Speckled Band. The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar. Of course. I always change one or two details in the stories here and there. This time I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually. Yes, and of course I know that snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think. Don't you? So, do you mean to say... Are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Rant's magazine? All written by me, yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine? Dr. John H. Wilson. Susato-san's getting more and more worked up. Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the Doctor of Medicine part? That's all true, too. I am a Doctor of Medicine. You just turned 10. No, at 10 years old? At 10 years old. Well, that's quite incredible. But, Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Ah, yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susato-san. She looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. Your deductions just now. Let's talk about those. About before. Yes. What's on your mind, Runo? Do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean? Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted, although there's really no mystery. Now let's begin. Uh-oh, goggles on. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. All right, we're doing just like Herlock did on the ship. Look at the background. I love it. First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Runo. Probably because of the armband, right? Yep. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I observed a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket. That's not the most secure place, is it? Oh. So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me that you were unaware of London's court affairs. The Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I? What is on Susato's hand? Looks like a stamp. Did she go to the club last night? Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with a suspect, weren't you, earlier today? Ah. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already had cause to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face. We were going to continue Susie's deductions next episode. Not Susie's, Iris's deductions next episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my content, please consider a like, a comment, and or a subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.